Hello everyone, welcome back to Pragmatic Talk with Alexis and Saj. We are going to watch Blair White tonight. She is of the trans experience and I am a fan of her videos. We're going to react to her reactions. So let's check out these woke TikToks.
I wanted to talk a little bit about wow. I wanted to talk wow.
We usually can't whistle that well, but we have a whistle tick now.
What? Run, bitch! Run!
I would not fake something like this. Maybe I just like the idea of getting attention.
Oh hey, welcome back to my channel. I am in such a good mood today.
That's Blair.
Let's ruin it. There was a huge TikTok influencer named Tix and Roses who was actually exposed for faking Tourette's syndrome. Check her out.
Wow! 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 Eat the burrito. Nope. One for you!
That's one for you.
Hey everyone, it's Emerald, and today I'm going to rate my most common tics. The most common one right now is bee-boo. Bee-boo! Like that.
What the hell is that?
It's Bee-Boo.
I can't even. So right off the bat, it looks fake to me. I've actually known people throughout the years with Tourette's syndrome, and this just looks performative, and I'm not the only person that felt that way. A ton of people were calling her out and saying this seemed performative. It seems like you're timing them, and eventually it actually was exposed from finding older live streams of her where she's talking for an hour straight, where she is not ticking. Her family went on Reddit exposing her for faking having Tourette's. So we're about to dive into objectively the worst TikTok community that I have seen. I'm gonna say one thing though, doing a video like this is obviously tricky because I'm not sitting here accusing every person of faking their mental illness on TikTok. There are actually wonderful influencers that I did see on the app when I was looking at all the fakers for this video, in which I was actually blown away by how open they were about expressing their mental disorders. There are people that obviously did have Tourette's, obviously did have issues, and were very open about it. And I think that's great because I have nothing but empathy and love for people who genuinely do suffer. And I think that people who fake it for an aesthetic because it's part of your e-girl brand or e-boy brand, you're a piece of shit. And there's really not any nicer way I could say that, you know?
Four's a good number. Maybe I'm 4. I don't know. But I'm olive. I know that. And I love unicorns.
The biggest mental disorder that's being faked right now on TikTok to the tune of billions of views is dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. DID is actually a very controversial disorder in the sense that there are actually experts that go back and forth and disagree on if it even exists or not and to what capacity it does exist. I'm not here to say it. I'm not an expert. For a very caricaturized and simplified description of what this disorder looks like, you can think of the movie Split with people having multiple personalities. There are people that claim that they have systems of people within them, more than one person within their body. So you would think that a dramatically rare disorder like DID would make up an equally dramatically small subsection of TikTok, right? Wrong. The hashtag has 1.8 billion views. This is obviously massively disproportionate. It just doesn't add up. And I wish I lived in a world in which this was beneath people, but it's really not. Even more so than any other social media app, the primary currency on TikTok, at least outside of the super vanilla like dancing videos and like, you know, the very mainstream TikTok, the main currency is victimhood and oppression. Let's just be honest. The current cultural obsession and fixation with identity also comes into play here because the same people that are listing all of their mental disorders that is almost always self-diagnosed, there's a very good chance that the same people are going to be.
So she said something about the main currency being oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that? Do you agree that there are oppression Olympics going on currently?
Yes. It's oppression when you try to silence someone else and try to enforce your own laws, basically.
I feel like
different terminology, maybe.
people are wanting to be oppressed in order to get sympathy, in order to receive protections that they may not
So you're
normally
saying
receive.
they're wanting to be oppressed, or they are
Yes.
oppressing?
They want to be oppressed. So where they wouldn't normally be oppressed, where there were less people initially that would have been oppressed,
Mm-hmm.
different classes. Now everyone wants to be oppressed and they want to be the most oppressed. I want to have more struggles than you. I need more protections. I need safe places. I'm extremely oppressed.
I get what you're saying. So you're saying that they're claiming to be oppressed when they're the ones actually oppressing people with their ideology.
They are essentially oppressing me with their shenanigans.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that. They're playing the victim card or whatever they used to call it. I have this disease, just tack it on. Just put it on my tab.
The more
it doesn't
oppressed I
even
am,
matter.
the more attention I get,
Yeah.
the more protections I receive, the more sympathy.
Yeah, that's like the highest commodity right now.
It's crazy.
They, thems and demigirls and non-binary and all these other things. It's just another tool these people use to shield themselves from criticism and to be special, frankly. Not enough people feel special in their lives, and that's very sad.
Right.
But you don't get a pass to appropriate something that people genuinely suffer with. Nothing's new under the sun, girl. I remember MySpace. I need the old people in the comments to tell me if you remember this. I remember on MySpace, people used to do this thing where they would list all their phobias. Who remembers that? I literally remember people would list phobias in their bios
There's
and the
not a new
descriptions,
thing.
saying they have agoraphobia, I don't know, spider
It's
phobia,
the same people that grew up.
arachnophobia is what it's called. Like just they would have like 20 different
MySpace.
phobias. I'm like, girl,
No.
you're scared of everything? It's because they think it's cute. It's because they're aesthetic. It's their aesthetic. It's because
blown
not
up
enough people have enough
a million
going on in their
times over
lives.
now.
And by enough, I mean jobs, hobbies, relationships, fulfilling endeavors that
part
they
right
think
there.
that listing mental disorders is giving them a personality. And that's very sad. And this parallels a lot with what I always talk about with the trans trend, for which there absolutely is a trans trend. And I just have to say something really quick. So this is a topic that's been covered by a lot of YouTubers, right? There are so many YouTubers on this website making videos about mental disorder TikTok, fake disorder TikTok. There are articles written about it. There are viral compilations of people, and everyone is in agreement, like, yeah, people are absolutely faking mental disorders on TikTok. But when I say that people are faking being trans for the same reasons,
Do you not think that puts people in a tough spot, as in
What do you mean?
the people that really have these problems that are trying to get through this, and these people are just playing around with these terms, I have this disease or I have that disease. Is that not actually causing more harm to society for the people that are actually going through these things?
I would absolutely say yes to that. And I tell you this all the time. I believe I've spoken on this channel before. This is why I feel like these topics should be discussed rather than one-sided. When you talk about something, it balances things out, right? You can see the extremists and you can see those who are genuinely experiencing something, whether it be the trans experience, like she just said. People faking being trans gets them attention. It gets them protections. It brings them into a group. This is something that people don't want to talk about. You can't talk about. You're phobic if you talk about any type of discussion, or not even opposition, but maybe criticism of what you're really doing, what your motive might be, if you're genuine or not, is seen as bullying. So I do feel ultimately that people taking on or riding the carpet of someone else's struggle is ultimately affecting that core group that is genuinely struggling with that, because you're now representing that group and you look wild.
And as a court of law, if you lie one time, you cannot be a witness for anyone else. So when you go into those standards and now these people are faking it, what is a person going to think of the people that are really going through it? It's going to put them in a tougher situation of like, do we believe this person's disability to say?
You can't, I mean, good thing is you can't say someone's faking something or not. if they say it, they are essentially, right?
But why are they getting attention off of this?
Will the
What kind
perception-
of phenomenon is this that if you claim that you have a disability, you're going to get more views, you're going to attract more crowd towards you?
Because to
Do
have
you
an
think
issue,
that's like a societal issue? Do you think like these people are causing that, or just people are interested in that? Something negative, something that has to do
people
with.
have always loved drama. People have always loved issues. And now people are clamoring towards being accepted into something where it seems to me, and not to sound crazy or rude, but a lot of the people that I see doing things like this are those who aren't normally accepted in a group. The awkward folks. And I'm a little bit awkward. That's fine. I was the shy kid in school. But those seem to be the people to me who are doing these types of antics online. Because if I say that I am, I'm now part of your group and I can't be questioned. If you really think about it, like Blair said, it is a certain type of person that is doing this.
But what's the accountability for this? Let's say a person comes up and says, I have this disability or this disease or whatever the case might be. Now, if that person is lying and this group or these groups that they have made from this organization, who's held accountable, or how are they holding the other person who's lying about this, who's falsifying these diseases and stuff? How are they actually taking action towards this?
I have not heard of anybody being called out on anything. Apparently, that
do they hold accountable their own? Like, I just want to know, like, if someone claims to be from your party that you guys have going on, and someone comes and lies about this stuff, what is the action on it? I haven't heard no one speak about it. I haven't seen no one object to it or clarify it or call out someone. Or
why would they?
That's my point. What is it that what actions would you guys take in order for that?
Why would they? As long as you're saying what needs to be said to keep the train going, why would I?
Because we're talking about transparency. You guys want transparency.
No.
Oh, we want to be accepted here, accepted there, this, that, the third.
No.
But now you don't want to be held accountable.
There's no negative imagery wanted. So why would they call somebody out for faking? If I say that I am, then I am. If I say that I have one leg,
no. But if you are caught lying, then what's the consequences from
it's brushed under the rug. From what I see, I don't see those on the mainstream. It's pretty much hushed.
Yeah.
People act like it's just so crazy. Like, how could Blair say that? How the fuck could Blair ever think anyone would ever fake being trans for attention or for an aesthetic? Honestly, I don't know how people don't find that more believable than faking something like DID or ADHD or Tourette's syndrome. To me, it's a lot easier to fake being trans than it is faking those things. But yeah, it's just such an inconceivable, irrational take that people might be appropriating being trans for attention and an aesthetic. Silly me. I literally have seen YouTubers cover this and claim people are faking mental disorders, who have also in the past say that I'm a crazy person for saying that people are faking being trans. That makes me want to smash a window. Human beings naturally emulate other human beings, and I believe that's what's happening here. Mental health experts are actually seeing a dramatic rise in people coming in and claiming to have tics, and they are absolutely saying this is coming from TikTok. If you've been alive long enough to observe a lot of humans and just human behavior in general, you kind of just inherently know that. It's the same reason why slang catches on. People start repeating words. It's like, why is everyone suddenly talking the same? It's this weird human effect. If people, particularly teenagers, are deeply enveloped and drawn to these mental disorder algorithms, it's really not that much of a stretch that it's going to affect the way they see themselves, and they may subconsciously, almost a placebo effect, start taking on these disorders. But it's just so fucked up, and I can only imagine actually having these disorders and then seeing people fake them, appropriate them, use them as an ooh-woo aesthetic, and then you have to sit there and be like, well, that sucks, I actually have it. But you know what? I kind of fucking relate, because I have to see people appropriating the trans shit all day, every day. It sucks, and I feel for you guys if you're one of those people. I really do. I'm sorry, but there is no logical reason why the overwhelming majority of these people adhere to a specific ideology, which is they're always woke. They're always woke. They always also have their pronouns listed. The two go hand in hand. Like almost none of them lack indicators that they come from that specific political ideology. That's telling just in of itself. If there really is some huge epidemic of these disorders happening and there's just a huge rise in it, it would exist regardless of politics. Am I wrong? No, I'm not.
What are your pronouns?
But what do you know? It's the same thing with trans. Isn't that crazy? I also think that what can't be understated here is that we are coming out of a pandemic and people have been so alone for years. I think that people are really lacking an identity right now. I think a lot of people, I mean, I didn't do it, but a lot of people really put their life on hold throughout the whole pandemic and just sat in their rooms and were on TikTok. That's why TikTok exploded during the pandemic. And I think people are really lacking personal value and identity, and rather than seeking that out in the form of something healthy, which is fitness, a job, a hobby, relationships, love, like they're seeking it out in, I have this disorder, here's my list of things that are wrong with me. And that's a very unhealthy mindset. I think that even if you genuinely suffer with a disorder, for which obviously millions and billions of people do, I think that assuming it as part of your identity is less than productive and less than healthy. I think you should see it as a part of you, something that you have to deal with and you have to conquer specifically. But to treat it as some sort of badge of honor, I think that first of all, it's a telling sign from the ones who are faking it. Of course, it's their badge of honor. It's what they put up as their face. But for people who really do have it, I wouldn't suggest doing that either, having it as sort of like your label. I think labels really are for the birds, honestly. I long for the days actually when it was more popular to say, miss me with the labels. Like that used to be actually a popular mindset, and I think we all lived in a much healthier time when that was the predominant sort of like outlook on existing on this planet, which was like, spare me the fucking labels. And now it's like, let me list as many labels as possible.
The society has changed to such a notion of where you're glorified by your disease, disorder. This is the only topic we're talking about anymore. Like, I don't know.
So when you're oppressed, it's good.
Yeah,
It's the oppressed Olympics.
I get that part. I get that part. But how did it go from what it was to where people would focus on, I'm good with this, fitness, my this, my that. These positive things were thrown into the media. But now everywhere you hear, oh, you got to focus on this disease. You got to be aware of this thing. You got to be aware of that thing. Even the people that didn't know about it now, oh my God, maybe I have anxiety. Maybe I have ADHD.
Do you notice that the things that people announced before were things like, I am in a good relationship, or I'm getting married, or, I'm getting a good shape, or I got this new job, or I got this degree, things that they have accomplished or achieved, right? That used to be like the bragging points or things that were shared.
Yes.
But now the things that are shared are all of my flaws.
Yeah.
Everything that's wrong with me. The level of accountability, the level of expectancy essentially among each other is so low.
Mm-hmm.
They are making it so if I can't achieve it, there is nothing to be achieved essentially. It's better to just be this substandard human being with all of these issues rather than push myself to become something or work hard to better myself. There's no need to better yourself anymore because it's cool to be struggling.
But you show me a person who doesn't have a disease or who doesn't have a problem in their life, who doesn't have a problem like as in like anger problems or depression.
Yeah, everybody has something wrong with
anxiety. These are normal things that go through human body. This is how you grow. This is how you learn certain things. Your body is supposed to go through this development, this process of you growing, you learning, you going through stuff, and that makes you an adult. If you don't go through nothing and you just sit there harbor over, I'm stressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stressed. I can't go to work because I'm stressed. How are you supposed to run a company if you're stressed and sitting at home?
They're not worried about that. They're worried about creating safe places and safe spaces. And that bubble that we talked about before that they carry around with themselves that I'm supposed to step around and make sure I don't pop.
Yeah. All right. Thank y'all for joining.
Wait, we're not. We have another video.
Yeah, the second one.
Hi, so I have a small dilemma. I am starting a new job on Monday, and it's a teaching job.
Are those samurai sword earrings?
That's what I was thinking.
I can't decide if that's
On the
really
glasses.
cool or like really annoying. Annoying.
So the kids are going to call me either Mr. or Mrs. Jamie. It depends on what I want, but I, as a non-binary being, I don't know what to pick. I feel like Mrs. would be
Non-binary bean.
easier for the kids, but Mr. makes me feel better. But I also kind of want to try mix, but I don't know if the kids can do that. I don't. And then what do they do when they ask me if I'm a boy or a girl? I'm not.
You're
I don't
supposed to be
know.
a teacher.
It's young kids.
Nervous
My
of
class is
going
gonna be
there
4-year-olds,
teaching kids?
so
Worried about what
I
they're
don't
going to
know.
call you?
And then I don't know if I want to go by.
What do you feel about that? This person is nervous of going to school to teach the kids, but she's worried, or he's worried, whatever it is, that what are the kids going to call them or her?
They're saying they are non-binary, which would lead me to believe that them is the proper way to address them. However, I don't care what you feel or how you carry yourself outside of that classroom. While you're in that classroom, give them a name that's not going to confuse my children. Just pick a name, stick with it. We don't need to go into what you do outside of the classroom, period. That's it.
Jamie or Jamie Ray, because Jamie Ray's the name that I go by now. I don't know.
Girl, you don't know what name you want. You don't know what pronouns you want. Maybe you should hold off on fucking teaching. That's just so annoying. Shouldn't she be expressing this amount of like stress or excitement or anxiety about like, how am I going to teach these kids? How am I going to live up to the very intense obligation of educating the youth and raising these 4-year-olds for 8 hours out of the day that they're not going to be with their parents? But instead, you're such a narcissist that you're sitting here focusing on, what do I want these 4-year-olds to call me? What do I want these 4-year-olds to refer to me as? Girl, you're a narcissist.
I don't know. Any advice would be great for any non-binary teachers.
SOS, save our ship.
SOS, SOC, save our captain. Thanks.
It's really annoying. Okay, so this one is a teacher answering the question, what is your opinion as a teacher on students who want to be called a different name but say not to tell their parents? So let's see what this teacher has to say.
I never tell parents, period. On their survey at the beginning of the year, when it asked for preferred name and pronouns, it also asked for what you want me to refer to as when I call home and what pronouns to use. So then I just make sure when I'm calling home, I use what they prefer when I call home. Even if someone told me I couldn't do that and I couldn't call them whatever they want or the pronouns they want without parent permission, I would still do it.
Quickest
It's
way
a
to get punched out.
problem that the teacher feels like they have the ability or the right to keep a secret from a kid's parents. And I know people of this political persuasion tend to believe that children belong more so to the state than they do the parents. That's a whole thing because they're so bent on collectivism. But at the same time, it's deeply predatory is a strong word, so keep it in your peripheral, but maybe not like fully attach it to this scenario. But the word did come to mind when thinking, oh, so you're an adult who is keeping secrets about you and a kid's relationship, what you're calling a kid, and you're not telling the parent. At the very least, that's a problem. You're a problem.
Huge problem.
If my kid was in school and expressing something about their gender or their sexuality, and any teacher felt like they were to keep that from me or hide that from me, I would be at that school whooping his or her or they's ass. I don't know what this person is. I would shut this school down if this teacher felt like they had any more right to information about my kid than I do. I'm feeling really bitchy today.
I'm a 4th grade teacher, and I do a lot of work with social justice and equity in my classroom. We have racialized conversations all the time.
I'm sure that's healthy.
Hannah Fandensteel am a racist. I am a product of the white dominant structure I was raised in. My people have done an excellent job lifting each other up. Unfortunately, that was on the backs of people of color. Because this is deeply embedded in my history, it is no wonder I was passed down views that are racially problematic. Even though white supremacy can be unconscious, it is constant. Living in this society would have been a miracle for me to be anything but racist. Now that I know I have deeply rooted racist tendencies, I can constantly be looking and listening for how they surface in my life. And when a person of color gives me feedback for not being a good ally, I can say thank you and not get defensive. Something here I said could have been problematic because I'm always learning.
Why are your eyes like that? Are you on drugs? I like how people like this are just projections of what they really feel about themselves. It's like these people can't help but talk about how they are racial.
I get confused with people like that because
Meaning?
they're so one-sided. Either they want to please the other side so badly, either or. Like that person could have been on the left side or the right side, but you can tell when the person is talking about how much they want to please the other side. Like that person is trying to clearly appease the people of color or any other than what that person is.
Some experience they had affected the way that they maneuver through life. And
Why are you talking about that with the kids, though?
having racial conversations in class, I feel iffy about, right? Because I remember in elementary school, there was always that week that we learned about slavery in history class. And it was always extremely awkward for that week. Beyond slavery, beyond like the Pilgrims, and the Native Americans, and in that section of the history book, it was tense at that time. So imagine having these conversations every single day. And where are you drawing this information from for two? Because your ideology may not be factual.
Right.
And why are you discussing this in a place where there may only be one of this ethnicity or two of that ethnicity? Not saying they're outnumbered, but being outnumbered while discussing racial topics can be kind of uncomfortable.
Not just that, that person is clearly biased to one side. So when you talk about that, imagine other people that are not agreeing with those or not even the same color that the
there
person
may be
is
some
referring
staring,
to.
and in that particular situation, it seems like she's very protective of those of color, which would lead people of her ethnicity to probably feel attacked.
They would have to, like, I don't know the right term for it, like dumb it down. I would have to, if I'm the same color that she or he, I don't know what that was, but if she was speaking about that, I would have to act a certain way to please these people that are in there, the other students in there. It's an awkward situation. I don't think that should be taught at that level.
And they didn't specify.
It's so confusing. What do you call them? Hey, he, she, they. I'm so confused.
I'll speak on that too, but I feel like it also matters the age group of which they are discussing these matters. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about college discussions, fair game. Do as you please. Do what you need to do. If we're talking about my second grader, it's a problem. I'm coming up to the school because you need not discuss racial matters every day with my child. My child needs to go to school and learn about a myriad of topics. We're not going to focus on race because that's something that you feel strongly about. Talk with that amongst your friends after school over a glass of wine and steak, and leave that at home. As far as the he or she or they, there's so many pronouns. There's so many genders people are claiming now. I try my best to always call people what they want to be called, as long as it's not something extreme. If you want me to bounce between he and she and they and everything in between, I'm likely not even going to carry on the conversation with you, not because I don't like you, but just because it's mentally taxing, stressing. But if you tell me they, I'll say they. If you tell me he, fine. But my initial perception, you can't be mad at me for saying he or she or they. Whatever you present as is likely what I'm going to address you as initially. If you want to correct me respectfully, I will respectfully carry on the conversation in that way. But yeah, forgive myself and Saj if we say he, if that individual is presenting male, or she, if the individual is presenting as female, because we are just ingrained to say those things. Yeah. When I address someone, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Now, because these terms are changing, what do you call someone?
That's
what do you call somebody who's they?
I can't make a reaction video on this without I'm so confused myself. Like, I can't tell what that person
I don't
is.
like when things are so touchy that I just can't listen. I'm going to just say what it is. And if somebody wants to correct me, then by all means.
And how they're so problematic. It's like, speak for yourself. Why do you feel the need to speak for other people that
Correct.
look like you? Example, white people. Not everyone has these internal views. Not everyone has these senses of other races that you have just because you're so hyper focused on it. You're projecting what you are, which maybe you're racist, and feel free to speak your truth, Miss Girl, but don't speak anyone else's truth because you don't know if it is their truth. It's just really annoying. Because the reality is, when she's sitting there saying these things to her kids, she is putting it on her kids. For her to say this about her being white, that means she's saying the exact same thing back to her white kids, that they must feel this way as well. She's not presenting it as an opinion. She's not presenting it as a theory. You know, you're talking about yourself. So if you want to announce and confess your sins that you're a racist, go ahead, but don't speak for anyone else.
I am an out teacher at my school, out as both bisexual and trans, and a lot of other teachers on TikTok were wondering how I managed coming out to my students.
Wait,
and it's a really interesting story.
This,
so this was right before the pandemic.
Did they just say I'm out as bi to my students, as in bisexual?
Yeah. I thought that's what I heard.
Why are you telling someone's child how you carry yourself in your bedroom? Why are you telling anyone's child your sexuality? Why are you discussing your sexuality with kids in general? You freaking creep.
That is weird. Well, what does that kid have to do with?
I do not discuss being heterosexual with people's children. It is not their business. They are children. It is not something to discuss with children. You weirdos need to stop discussing your sexuality with children, period. I draw the line at kids. I don't care. It's nasty. It's disgusting. Just stop.
If you don't speak on this, it would eat the society up.
I cannot. If you do not defend children, if you do not have a bone in your body to speak against the abuse, to me, this is abuse. Mm-hmm. If you do not have a bone in your body to speak against the abuse of children, I'm going to think you're a part of the problem, and I'm likely not going to associate myself with you because what is your motive?
Yeah, this is a different
I'm side-eyeing you at this point.
Yeah.
You're playing with kids.
Yeah, when you start taking advantage of kids, people with not that much capacity, talk to an adult. If you have these issues, discuss it with their parents.
Talk to your friends.
Yes. Discuss it with the parents. If you really want to come out and be addressed like this or that, go talk to the parents. Let's see what kind of outcome you get from that. But stop talking to kids about this stuff. It's weird.
It's abuse.
It's abuse. It goes into so many different things because now, I don't know. What are you talking about sexuality in this?
I came back to my school after being away from it for a while, during which time I transitioned. So none of the kids knew me as trans, but I wanted to talk about it. So what I did is, as soon as I came back, I joined up with the GSA, realized how many questions the kids had, and decided the best thing to do would be to host a Q&A. So the kids made up a whole bunch of flyers, and then one day during lunch, we hosted the tea talk. It was a triple entendre of T as in trans, T as in spilling the tea, and T as in we literally served them tea. It was great. It was a huge success. So many people showed up. We didn't have nearly enough tea for everyone. And I spent about 10 minutes talking about the difference between gender, sex, and sexual orientation, and then also talking about my own life story, sort of like the highlight.
And I'm sure everything that she said about gender, sex, sexuality was completely factual and based in science and not biased or part of her particular worldview at all. I'm sure it was not her opinion. It was all just facts, right? Totally objective, I'm sure. Now, this one isn't as bad as some other ones, other than the fact that I do think it's a bit strange to come out to your students. I did have one gay teacher growing up, but the way that he handled it was like, he didn't handle it. He actually didn't tell anyone he was gay.
Live your life.
During school events where maybe it was appropriate to bring your spouse or whatever, he would bring his husband, and actually that might have been before gay marriage was legal, so his partner. And it wasn't a thing. Everyone just kind of knew, like, oh yeah, they're together. But like this whole announcing, like, I'm bisexual and I'm transgender. Like, how about you teach them how to read? Right. Again, it's just the word narcissist comes to mind. Like, why do you think these kids need to know that you're bisexual?
Let's not make you the focal point.
Story time.
Weirdos.
This has been my first year in preschool with a class of my own, teaching alongside another queer neurodivergent educator, and we have been rocking our Choose class. We've been talking about gender and skin color and consent and empathy and our bodies and autonomy. It's been fabulous.
Didn't she say preschool? I would be so pissed. First of all, a number of the things she just listed are things that if I was a parent, honey, I can't speak as a parent because I'm not, but if I was, I for damn sure would be teaching those things to my kid myself, because who the f are you? I don't know what your views on any of those things are for you to be telling my kids anything.
I would ask the question to the schools. What are they doing to address this type of situation?
They cannot. They cannot. It is a hate factor at this point. If you question anyone on how they carry themselves sexually or gender-wise or anything of the sorts, not only is it, becoming a legal issue, they've made it a moral issue. I be darned if I can't ask who's teaching my child. You're not about to have any raggedy weirdo teaching my children their beliefs. I have an issue with people thinking that everyone walking amongst us is sane. Everyone walking through the streets is not sane. We do have to realize that some people aren't working with a full deck. And now those people that are missing some cards out of their deck are being seen as the sane individuals, and we can't question them. We can't say anything. We're being rude if we say anything, and that's a problem. How far are we going to let stuff go?
Yeah, that's my question. What is the school, the principals, all these admin people, what are they doing for, or the school district doing for these kind of problems? Because
legally, they can't. Clearly,
this is a problem, especially the belief that I come from. If you try to teach something like this to my child, it's going to be a problem, because now you're going against my religion. You're going against everything that I know. Everything I base my life off of.
Well,
morals.
This person's rights are more important than yours.
No, my freedom of religion or way of life is more important as well. And I would be darned if someone did this in a society the kind of society that I live in, because believe me, every parent would be up at that school. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's the principal making these decisions. That principal would have to resign in order for us to have the freedom to show our kids what we want them to be learned.
Again, this will only really be an issue or pushed in certain areas. Where we live, this likely won't be an issue just based on the...
Why do you think that is?
The demographic. The demographic of...
What is the thing that would stop it from happening?
We have a large number of individuals who do not live this lifestyle.
Do you think that has anything to do with morals and belief systems?
I believe that religion definitely plays a part. Culture, region. There are many factors. We're not really in a metropolitan area, for one. Those tend to be the more liberal, woke areas. They're, again, the demographic. I won't say the demographic of the area that we live in, but this specific demographic has strong cultural and religious ties. And therefore... I don't think that is going to be something that will be easily influenced here in this area, which is a good thing. Let's just stick to education. Let's not bring your personal
baggage.
Baggage.
That's what it would be. You're bringing your personal baggage in. You're trying to share your biography of your life or how you live, how you do things to these kids.
So I want to be the focal point.
Yes.
So
you're not teaching that book.
It's about me.
Yes, my kid's at home talking about you, what you feel like. What if my teacher's bisexual? My teacher had purple hair today.
Well, I want to feel safe in my classroom, so I need to let your kids know that I'm bisexual.
To do what with? What are the damn
so
kids
that I feel safe? So that I feel safe. So that
from what?
So that your kids don't call me heterosexual.
Nobody cares what you're doing with your sexual life.
They might. So I want to feel safe.
Okay,
I'm creating my safe space in my classroom.
I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with a person like that. But if someone can really sit there and talk about this stuff, I will love that. But if someone just on this, I don't feel safe. This is a scapegoat. This is poor intellect. You're not there all the way. If this is your basis of the conversation, I don't feel safe. What's the reason that you don't feel safe? Just because someone's people still to this day cannot pronounce my name. I don't take offense to that. You know this. We go to places, they're struggling saying my name. You know, a lot of people.
Well, you're not part of an oppressed group, so.
Correct. It's not a big thing to me. You can call me whatever. Just, I got your message. All right, bro, I'll see you later. That's all it is. I don't care what you call me. I'm not going to sit there and nag to you. Hey, you should have called me this. You should have done this. And this is a real question to the principals, to the school districts. What kind of action would they be taking?
They can't. You're not understanding that is beyond them. Even if they do have personal feelings about this, whether they do or they don't, they cannot, for the sake of their jobs, say anything. People get fired for opposing anything.
Who would
of the
be
sort.
firing them?
You know how many? Listen, in that particular school, where that teacher is talking about genitals to preschoolers, if that's the vibe that they're having at that campus, if that's already allowed, and if the parents, first of all, I can't even say that the parents are really in support of it. I think that people feel pressured.
Correct.
I feel like people feel pressured.
But there has to be some kind of authority level.
But wait, people are pressuring each other morally, behaviorally, to go with this notion. And
ideology.
It's like crabs in a bucket to me, just mayhem, chaos. No one wants to say how they really feel, in fear that they will be the only one in opposition, or in fear that they will lose their jobs, because if 5 people call in and complain that you're being homophobic and they don't feel safe at work, or they don't feel safe, that principal is going to get fired. No one's going to say.
I would respect that. I would respect a teacher getting fired to stand up against that.
My bills are due. I have kids. I can't get fired, so I need to just be quiet. I need to bite my tongue and let these people figure it out.
There's more honor in that.
People don't care about honor.
But that's the whole point. That's
people
where
don't
people
care.
Are losing morality is when they don't care about, honor and stuff like that. And especially in the religion that I follow, it's one of our favorite sayings. If you stand up for the truth and your even father or brother stands against you, I'm paraphrasing, but it's to this message, is even if your father stands against you, you have to stand for the truth, regardless of who's opposition to you. It doesn't matter if you lose your job. It doesn't matter if there's 20 people in front of you. These kind of things, these come to honor. America didn't get built on, okay, let me just follow along into this, or let me follow along into that. The civil rights movement wouldn't be what it is today if those people just fell in line with what was happening. If people just went along with what was happening, nobody would get anywhere. We wouldn't have these rights today.
That is the life that we are being forced to live now. And if you have anything opposing to say, you're hateful, you're phobic, you are a bigot. And that is the problem to me, is that people are afraid to speak against anything in fear of losing their jobs or being judged. When really, a lot of the people that are agreeing don't really they don't agree. They're afraid. They're afraid to disagree. And the matter is,
trying to fit in.
This person is thinking, I'll let them figure it out. Yeah. I'll let them figure it out. And ultimately, now no one's figuring it out because they're waiting for someone else to be the martyr.
Yeah, they, as long as it doesn't personally affect me, I'm okay.
And again, we've talked about society. Mm-hmm. What someone else does directly affects everyone within that society. Do not be foolish to think that what he does doesn't affect our neighbor. It ultimately affects everyone in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
And second of all, preschoolers can't read. Teach them to read.
But our teaching team is shifting and a new person is being onboarded, someone with many years of experience. So today at the lunch table, when the topic of gender and genitals came up, one of our
third graders, the topic of genitals came up.
That wasn't a third grader. It said preschoolers, which are 3-year-olds.
Wow.
3 and 4-year-olds are preschoolers. So she's talking about genitals and consent and sexuality with your 3 and 4-year-old who cannot yet read, who is merely forming an idea of thought.
Yeah.
So she's feeding into your child how they will essentially be leading their life. So it's perfect. It's great. Before they can
Topic of
read, they'll know
gender
about
and genitals
everything
came
else.
up with preschoolers. You're a whole problem. Listen, I am not saying, because I know there's going to be someone in the comments, well, preschoolers do know what their private parts are. Yeah, for sure. However, who are you to be talking about it with them, and what are you saying about it to them?
Yeah.
Students
How are you
lamely
explaining?
looked up and said, well, I'm a girl today, but I know that teacher Co isn't. No, they're envy. And the look on the incoming teacher's face was priceless. She was shocked in a good way, and she just looked around at the two of us and said, this class was incredible, and I'm
Doubt it.
so impressed.
I doubt it.
You see how cool she thinks she is because she even knows what.
You see the arrogance in that? Do you see the
doubt that somebody even
Yes.
said that. I doubt that exchange happened.
Yes.
She's creeping me out with the way that she's talking, her hand movements, everything about it. I don't want it.
Yeah, but the arrogance,
That's
way
what I'm
she feels
saying.
proud. That's narcissism. That's you're so happy that you did this. This kid knows about non-binary or whatever the hell you are. You're feeling proud.
The
That's
three-year-old. The 3-year-old said, "Today I feel like a girl, but not teacher Co."
I don't know.
Whatever. Today I feel like a girl. The 3-year-old said.
Yeah.
Who talks like that? When people tell me that these kids are saying these things, I think to myself, of all of the children that I've come into contact with, I've not heard of a child of this age having the capability or the knowledge or the know-how to carry on these types of conversations.
That's wild.
First of all, envy means non-binary. It's like annoying. I even know that, but you see how cool she thinks she is, and how it comes from such a narcissistic place. Like, she thinks she is really that edgy ass bitch for even knowing what this is and teaching preschoolers about it. And the fact that this preschooler would even know to use a word like that is clearly because this person is teaching them about their own gender ideology. And that is disgusting. Preschool, remember, preschool.
Abuse.
My name's Josh. Use they, them pronouns in English, A and Espanol. And I got a lot of questions like this. So how do I bring this up to my teacher? How do you talk to colleagues about it? How do people respond to you? So where I work, everybody was really receptive. They wanted to learn more about it. It's been a slow process, but they're learning more and they're integrating it. And this is across languages. So I feel super lucky. However, I know that's not the case for a lot of people. All I can say is that try to talk to your teacher about it and explain to them that this is what non-binary people are doing in the language, and that by not including language like this in the classroom, it's making people who are non-binary or maybe are non-binary and they don't know feel unsafe, and that it's actually transphobic, and that they're excluding people's identity in the classroom and making them not feel safe when using that language. So that's all I can say. It's really difficult if people are resistant to it, but we gotta keep fighting.
What?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what the that person just said. I literally, that was like word vomit to me. I don't know what they said. Feel free to translate that in the comments for me.
There's no standard. There's no basis of what they're talking about. I didn't even understand half of the stuff that they said. But it comes down to this. Do you really want your kid to learn this stuff at school? Is this how you want the younger generation to
I'm not allowing anything like
up?
that to teach
Everywhere
my child.
you go on TV, you walk down the street, you see posters of naked people, you go hear something about this on TV. There's so much sexuality on there. And now the kid can't even go to school without that influencing them. And they have your kid for about 6 to 8 hours a day.
More hours than most parents have their kids. This is what is influencing and teaching your child to be the human that they're going to be. This is scary because
this is the pandemic.
This is scary because my child, my household, right? I hold us down. We're good. We're going to be fine, right? We're not playing these games. But when my child grows up and has to go out in the world with those children, I'm now concerned about my children and grandchildren. So I will continue to speak out against this with every fiber within me. And I'll say this because I feel like I should give a disclosure just so everyone knows my stance. I do not have a problem with how any adult lives their life, how any adult chooses to maneuver through life. If you want to be trans, if you want to be gay, bi, straight, whatever it is that you want to do, by all means, do it. Okay, I don't care. We're all free to live as we choose to, and I respect that.
I would be fighting. Period.
Okay, so during third period, we have announcements, and they do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always tell my class, stand if you feel like it, don't stand if you feel like it, say the words if you want, don't have to say the words. So
I actually don't mind that. That's how I grew up as well in the California school system, which is maybe different from, other states or whatever. But, I don't have any problem with a teacher saying that it's your choice.
Decided to stand but not say the words. Totally fine. Except for the fact that my room does not have a flag. It used to be there. But I took it down during COVID because it made me uncomfortable. And I packed it away and I don't know where, and I haven't found it yet. But my kid today goes, hey, it's kind of weird that we just stand and then, we say it to nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, I gotta find it. Like, I'm working on it. I got you. In the meantime, I tell this kid, we do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around and he goes, oh, that one?
So annoying. It's not just the fact that a rainbow flag is inherently bad or something. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm sure people can misconstrue that, but the fact that this teacher is taking joy out of manipulating kids to pledging allegiance to a flag they may or may not even fully understand, and that the teacher is on TikTok laughing about how she's lying to her students. Again, I would be very, very upset if I was a parent.